Gospel of Luke, the 5th chapter, verses 1 through 11. Luke, chapter 5. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the words of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats, and they left there by the fishermen, who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he was finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night, haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and to help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at the knees of Jesus and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all of his companions were astonished at the catch of fish that they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. So ends the reading of God's holy word. Would you pray with me, please? Gracious and almighty God, we thank you so much for the gift of your holy scriptures. May its teachings rest on our hearts and change our lives, and may this meditation be pleasing unto you. For it's in Christ's holy and most precious name that we pray. Amen. One of the things that we were shown when we went over to Israel for a study tour, when we were around the Sea of Galilee, which is the same lake that is mentioned here, there's all these coves, for the lack of a better word. The mountains around them are kind of carved in naturally. And they're natural amphitheaters. If you've seen the amphitheaters that go in kind of like a half dome and you stand down at the bottom and your voice or the music or whatever you're doing carries, this is what happened around the Sea of Galilee. And so when Jesus put out into a boat and sat down to talk, his voice naturally carried in this natural amphitheater. And I love how he meets Simon and James and John. They're just going about their business. They had just come in from a long night of fishing where they hadn't caught anything. They left their boats and they were cleaning their nets. Ordinary, everyday occurrence. And Jesus comes along to Simon and says, "Simon, put out from shore here. I'm going in your boat." I was like, okay. And Jesus teaches the people. And when he was done, he tells Simon to go out and to cast out his nets. And he's like, "Lord, okay, but just so you know, we've been fishing all night long and haven't caught anything. The fishing's not good in this area right now. But because you say so, I'll go and do it." You see, he recognized Jesus as a teacher. He listened to what he had taught the people. He was impressed by what he had heard. He recognized, but he's like, "Man, this guy's a rabbi. What does he know about fishing? What on earth could he know? But you know what? I'm not going to rock the boat, figuratively or, anything." So he goes out and he throws out his net. And I wish I could see the look on Simon's face when all of a sudden the net gets so full of fish it's too heavy for him to deal with. And he's yelling to his partners, James and John. He's like, "Come and help me, I can't. Oh my goodness." And the catch was so great that it filled both boats so full they began to sink. is in the boat with you. When Jesus tells you to cast out your nets, you cast out your nets. Simon recognizing, maybe not quite fully understanding, but recognizing that he is in the presence of a great, great man. Someone who may have God's ear. He's like freaked out. He's like, Lord, you need to go away from me. I'm a sinful man. He's just an everyday kind of a person. What was Jesus doing in his boat? And Jesus says, you know what? Today I will make you fishers of people. You will share my love and my light with all those in your path. And inferring by the bountiful catch that their catch would be bountiful. What I find interesting is that they left immediately. They just left everything there. And at first I was like, well, that's kind of interesting because, you know, they didn't wash out their nets. Obviously that's an important thing to do, right? They didn't do that. They just left it. They left their boats and they walked away. But do you know they had 2 boatfuls of fish? I mean, this was so full that they were sinking. And they left everything. All of a sudden, the things of this world, those earthly things, like fish and money and property, didn't mean as much as following Jesus and doing what Jesus was asking them to do. They didn't say, hold on, Jesus, let me go sell this fish. Hold on, Jesus, let me wash the nets. Hold on, Jesus, let me put the boats away properly. They just got up and went. And as much as we give the disciples grief because, you know, they're people and they put their feet in their mouth and they make poor choices and they're just ordinary people. And as much as we give them grief, oh, to have faith of Simon and James and John to just leave everything and follow Jesus. Just because Jesus said so. Come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of people. What did they know of interacting with people? They went and caught fish. They spent their time out on the water, not in crowds of people. But because Jesus said so. Because they had seen what could happen when Jesus told them to cast their nets. Because they saw what Jesus could do, they left everything and they followed. And the entire world is blessed because they did so. Jesus still calls us today. And sometimes it's those extreme calls where we are called to just leave everything and everything that we know. And we trained and we studied to do some field of service. And now Jesus is calling us in a completely different direction. That still does happen today. I'm proof of it. I was a dog groomer. Okay? I was going to be a dog groomer. I didn't want to go to college. I got my associate's degree. I said, that's enough. I was a dog groomer. I was perfectly happy being a dog groomer, but God saw something else in my life and saw that he could use my life. Now, I was not like Simon or James or John. I didn't just leave everything. God kind of had to hit me over the head with a 2x4 a few times, but that's okay, right? As long as we eventually follow. But God is here calling you. And maybe it's not to leave your profession, but it is certainly to step out in a new direction. Maybe it's to add to it. Maybe it's to reach out within your profession. We can all be fishers of people no matter where we are, at work, at home, in the community. It doesn't matter where we are. God can use us, and the catch will be bountiful. And we might not even know it. We might not even understand how God uses us, but we need to be faithful, and we need to follow, and we need to share the love and light of Christ no matter where we are. In the midst of pain, in the midst of grief, in the midst of just everyday, ordinary life. We need to share Jesus' light and love with everybody. You are called. And you have the choice. Will you tend to the regular, ordinary things of life without another thought in the world and just continue to clean your nets? Or will you take the chance and follow? Follow Jesus and allow Jesus to use you in the everyday, ordinary tasks and in the extraordinary things that happen once in a while. And every step you take, in every place that you go, even while you're cleaning the nets, that you would be aware of those around you and do everything that you do to the glory of God. Would you be bold enough to follow the examples of the first disciples? And to not give thought to these earthly things, but follow Jesus because he said so. And trust that the catch will be bountiful beyond our even wildest dreams. Amen. In just a moment.